Hi everyone, today I want to show you how to knit a striped mitered square. This is a great variation on the solid mitered square that I've made in the past, and it's great for using up any small scraps of stash yarn that you might have that might not have enough to make a whole square. So by combining two colours you can make your yarn go that little bit further. It also adds great pops of colour and definition to any mitered square blanket that you're going to make. The best bit about it is that you carry your yarn up the sides, so you only have 4 ends to sew in at the end. So without further ado, let's get cracking. To make this mitered square, you want to cast on an even number of stitches. For this square I cast on 50, but for this tutorial I'm just going to make a smaller square as a sample, so I'm going to cast on 30. I like to use the long tail cast on method, so if you want to go ahead and cast on as many stitches as you like, I'm going to go away and cast on 30 and then we'll talk through what we do next. So I've got 30 stitches cast on now, and this is the right side of our work. For the first row, you want to turn your work and you want to knit all the way across. Turn your work. This is the right side of our work facing us. You can tell when your right side is facing you and when you're due to do a decrease row when your tail from your cast on is at the left hand edge of your work, so the furthest point from your needles. Because we're working a striped mitered square, we want to introduce our colour B into our project now. So you want to just tuck your colour A away to keep it nice and taut, and add your second colour in. Leave a tail so you've got an end to sew in. You can grab that in with the end there, and then you just want to start knitting with your new colour. And you want to knit until you are 2 stitches before your centre point. So because we have got a square of 30, we want to knit 13 stitches. Then we come to our first decrease, and the first decrease we work is a knit 2 together, and that's just does what it says on the tin. You pick up 2 stitches at the same time as if to knit, pull up your yarn and pull through both those stitches, and you've decreased 2 into 1. Now if you find that you need a little helping hand to mark your centre point for future rows so that you don't have to count as much, you can pop a little stitch marker on at this point before you work your second decrease. And your second decrease is a slip, slip, knit. So you want to put your needle in as if you're going to knit and slip it from your left needle to your right needle, and then again a second time put your needle in as if you're going to knit but slip the stitch across to your right hand needle. Then you want to pop your left hand needle back into the stitch, and you want to knit 2 together by pulling through from the back like that. and then you want to knit to the end of the row. Turn your work, and this row you want to knit all of the stitches because it's a backside row and we only decrease on when we're working on the right side. So you want to knit all the way across and just slip that stitch marker across the needles as you get to the halfway point. So no decreases, just knit every stitch. So now we're back on a right side again, and we're wanting to work a decrease row, but we're also wanting to change colours. But what you want to do when you change colours is you want to make sure that you are catching your colour that you're stopping working with the new colour. So the way that I work it is I make sure that when I let my yarn hang, and I want to take the pink yarn in this case from underneath the yellow, and pull it up and over the yellow. Make sure that you don't catch this tail. And you can see here that what the pink yarn is doing is it's lifting up and it's just catching that yellow yarn, so that when you start knitting it'll hold the yellow yarn nice and snug, and then eventually just keep it nice and tidy up the edges. Don't pull too tight on the pink yarn because you don't want to pull these stitches too tight along this side edge, and you want to start knitting with your pink yarn, and you want to knit until 2 stitches before the stitch marker. So we're now 2 stitches before the stitch marker, so you want to knit 2 together, and slip the stitch marker over. Then work a slip, slip, knit, and knit the rest of your stitches. And you can see that the stripe is starting to form. So we now want to turn our work and knit all the way across, slipping that stitch marker at the halfway point. Now we want to change colour again, so you want to take your yellow yarn, lift it up over the pink yarn so that it catches the pink yarn as you're lifting it up. Again, don't keep it too tight because you don't want to pull this stitch below too tight and cause your square to bunch up along the sides. And then you want to knit until 2 stitches before the stitch marker, and then you want to work your knit 2 together, slip the stitch marker, work your slip, slip, knit, and then knit all the way to the end, and then turn your work and knit the backside row, knitting all the way across. I'm going to go away and work those 2 rows, and then I'll come back again to show you how to change the colour one more time. So here we are, I've worked those 2 rows, and just one final time I'll show you how we lift our colours over each other. So the best way, let them dangle. So the colour you now want to work with is the pink. Pick it up from underneath the yellow, pop it over your finger and make sure that the yellow is caught behind it. Can you see? Like that. And by doing that, you carry your yarn up the sides and you don't have any unsightly ends or saggy bits to deal with. And you repeat these 2 rows, changing colours every 2 rows until you have 6 stitches left, and I will show you then how we finish off our square and cast off to have this funky little striped square to add to projects. I've now decreased down until I've just got 6 stitches remaining, and you can see along this edge where we've been carrying the yarn, it's just this really nice neat little twist, and when you sew or attach this square to other squares, that'll get completely hidden. So for the final couple of rows, we want to carry on working the same. There's a change for the final row, so one last time, make sure that you have your yarns with the current working yarn above it, and you want to lift your new yarn over the old yarn so that it captures it in underneath it. And you want to knit until your 2 stitches before the decrease, which in this case is just 1 stitch. Work your knit 2 together. You can get rid of this now, we don't need this. Work your slip slip knit, and knit your final stitch. So we've got 4 stitches. Turn your work and knit your wrong side row. Just knit all 4 stitches. Swap to our pink yarn, and because we've just got 4 stitches left, we are going to work straight away and knit 2 together. And a slip slip knit. Turn your work one more time, and this is where it's slightly different. Instead of working 2 knit stitches and then turning, we are just going to work and knit 2 together, and at that point we're going to cast off. So at this point now, if you want to, you can cut your working yarn, leave a decent tail so that you've got enough of a tail to knit the final stitch and to sew in your ends. And then you want to just knit 2 together and then carry on and pull the yarn through to cast off. And there we have a finished little mitered square, and you can make these stripes as wide as you want. If you wanted to do more than 1 row of stripes, you just need to remember to carry your yarn up the side. So if you come to the end of a yellow row and you want to do another yellow row, just remember to pick up the pink to lift it up before you carry on working with the yellow again. And that is how you knit a stripy mitered square. You can join these as you go. You can use this method, but use my join as you go video to join these squares to your project as you go. You don't have to join them separately. You can head on over to the video now if you'd like to learn how to join them as you go. But I really hope you have lots of fun making these stripy squares to add to your projects. And if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you for another tutorial soon. Bye!